BJ, and here is another narrative secret that I love to use. These narrative secrets are like a look behind my DM screen, and I hope this doesn't spoil my opportunity to create further adventures, because this is pretty much the details on how I craft an adventure and the techniques that I use, so I hope it doesn't take any surprise away. But anyway, this narrative secret is one that the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons has pointed out, but I feel like they've dropped the ball on this one. And it's my only complaint, although they are releasing more information about various subjects. And that is, Dungeons & Dragons says that the game is divided into 3 parts. And that is, dramatic combat, social interaction and role-playing, and exploration. And I feel like there's a huge gap in the exploration. And to me, exploration isn't just exploring a dungeon, but it is the environment itself. And I love my environment. I love to use the environment as another player, another NPC. It is the third part of the triangle of characters, NPCs, and then boom, the environment. So I'm going to describe a couple of different environments, and then I'll tell you how I use them. And please let me remember to put Mark Williams' video link below, because he has an awesome video about escalation and how it was used in Lord of the Rings, and I'm not going to go into how he used that. Well, anyway, so you have a situation where it's raining and storming, the ground's muddy, and the river is swelling from 5 days of constant rain. You have a desert with sand blowing, and there's a sandstorm over the horizon. You have a swamp, and characters walking through, knee-deep and waist-deep, dark, dank waters with this biological scum and miasma floating on the top, and things rubbing against their legs, and they're unsure what it is. They hear creatures of all types scampering in the thick foliage above their heads, small animals skittering across the bent and gnarled trees, with the ground so moist that you can actually see the roots of the trees rising above the water, able to hide and support life underneath those branches as well as above. Tangled vines, strange and rotting vegetation floating on the surface. You can have all kinds of environments. And what I like to do with my environment is give them the environment and then start to change it. It is the flooding river. It is the unstable sand. Environment can be city. They are the fight in the town square, and the population starts to panic or turn into a mob and rush past the player characters as they try to grab the trinket off of the ground. It is the stampeding horses, the torrential winds from a hurricane or tornado, the heat from a drought and a summer that has just been pounding the area for weeks now. So how do I use the environment? Well, the environment can spice things up a little bit, right? So you got yourself your stereotypical goblinoid, raiders, right? And they confront the characters out in, let's say, the wild. It can be in a desert, jungle, in the woods, some hills, somewhere, all right? But without the environment, it just turns into like a gray, flat, featureless ground that goes off in the distance to the horizon. The sky's just white. There's no breeze. The temperature's exactly 68 degrees, and there's nothing going on. You want to use the environment. If it was raining, you want the rain to spill down people's faces and have the mud, stick to their boots and have it hard to run through it. and have something fall in the mud and get lost in the mud, and have a weapon fly out of someone's hand and stick point first into the mud and have someone else try to slide down the muddy hill to grab it. You want those things to happen. You want the dwarf to purposefully slide down the mud on his shield and tackle the orc before he gets to backstab the wizard, before he casts his, ray of frost or something of that nature. You want to allow your players to utilize the environment as well. Well, damn, how do you utilize the environment? All right, I'm going to give you a trick, and this is how I do it, right? 3 steps. Create a difficulty. Dungeons & Dragons, start out at the lowest difficulty. Make it a 5. Start out at 5. Pick an effect. Usually the effect is, I like to pick an effect that is not damage. It can be disadvantage. It could be a penalty on an attack. It can be a side effect like you are under the effect of stun or fatigue, exhaustion, grapple, paralysis, falling prone, blindness, deafness. Those effects, if you fail the difficulty, walking in the mud is going to halve your movement rate. Or if you fail the difficulty, walking in the mud, I'm going to put you down as fatigued because you have to lift your feet, you're not moving as well, not fighting as well, etc. The third part would be allow the player characters to come up with unique ways, including maybe spending a bonus action, to avoid the effects of what's going on. Allow your players to come up with ideas. Don't just force the effects on everybody and just say, yes, you can have, say, you can have thick fog, torrential downpour, a sandstorm where everyone is at disadvantage. Yes, you could do that. But player characters are notorious for coming up with some of the strangest, most bizarre, and kookiest ideas, and you gotta let them have the opportunity to express them, right? So, if you have, let's say the characters are on a hill, the goblinoids are above them, they want to fight them off, it's hard for the player characters to go up the hill, it's so muddy, they've got to grab on from tree to tree just to get their way up there, and one of the player characters goes, well, I want to cast rope trick, but instead of the rope going upwards, I want the rope to go to another tree, so we can use the rope and climb up the rope towards our enemies. So we can hold on the rope with one hand and cast a spell or, fire a hand crossbow or throw a javelin with the other. And as a game master, you have to say to yourself, you know what, when in doubt, role play it out. You know what, yeah. Okay, I'll let you do that. Okay, you know what, that makes sense. It's a modification of the spell, yeah, but, it'd be kind of cool. And then you say, okay, well, you need to make a strength check to hold on. Otherwise, you're going to let go and slide back down the hill. Oh, okay. Well, if I slide back down the hill, what happens? Usually, I love going for my D4s or D6s. And the D4s I usually use to roll for how far away something goes, how long something lasts, and how much damage something takes. And I'm usually use that between like 1st and 5th level. I might even go for the D6 if they're, the top end of 5th level, 4th and 5th level. So, for example, there's a forest fire, and the player characters are fighting goblinoids, and the forest fire is just starting to spread. And the players are like fighting not only the enemies, but there's tree branches on fire falling off of the trees. The trees themselves are burned to such a limit that they're actually starting to fall, and there's hot embers falling down on their heads. And new round, everyone has to make a difficulty 5 check to see if they dodge out the way. Oh, darn, I rolled a 1. Damn, I got hit. Okay, I rolled a D4. D4, you get hit. I rolled a 3. You get hit with some hot embers, and you will be burning for 3 rounds. You will take, I rolled a D4, you take 2 points of damage, and chances are you're going to probably take burning damage on the next 2 rounds. If you don't do something about it, you're probably going to have to stop, drop, and roll. Or the mage says, hey, can I use a cantrip and use a cold spell to put the fire out on my friend? Yeah, sure, okay. Those are little things. Now, You say, well, why, Dave, why would you pick a difficulty 5? That's easy. The last part of what you want to do, especially if you really want to engage the environment, is called escalation. And you want to escalate the difficulty for yourself and even for your enemies. And I like to use the environment because this gives me the opportunity to modulate the action so that I can either prevent or cause a total party kill, right? So, for example, I say that there's 30 goblinoids, and I'm thinking in my head, like, oh, shit, that's too many. They're second level. There's no way they're going to fight off 30 goblinoids of any type and survive. But I said 30, it kind of has to stick, right? Well, I can use the environment to split up the bad guys, let's say. So, 5 of the goblinoids make their way down the muddy, forested hill, while the others stay at the top range trying to figure their way down. And then I can start adding reinforcements. Okay, 3 more slide down the hill. Okay, 6 more come, but they're attached to ropes because they're thinking, okay, we can do this, and they're attached to ropes and such. 4 more stop themselves at the highest part of the ridge behind trees, and they pull out their bows and start firing arrows behind the trees. So I can add a few more and a few more. This also gives an opportunity for the player characters to eliminate some of the enemies without having to kill each one. So, hey, if my dwarf uses his hammer, I'm going to knock the knee out from one of the orcs and have him slide down the hill. Okay, make your roll, blah, 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 bam, you do. You know what? Yeah, you rolled so high, you knocked the knee out from under him. It doesn't do much damage, but his ass goes sliding down the hill, sliding 60, 70 feet and tumbles at the bottom, and now he's got to try to make his way back up. So there's a way to add some extra dynamic elements to it. Usually what I do is I start the effects of the environment first. So it essentially has initiative, and allow the players to, expend an action. I expend an action to hold my ground on the hill, bracing my foot against one of the bases of a tree or something, and then I use my other action to strike at an orc or a gnoll or something. So I give them the opportunity to figure out a way around the environment. If they choose not to fight the environment, then they get the full effect. Lastly is escalation. Yes, I'm getting to escalation. I mentioned it a couple times already. Is that you escalate the difficulties. So as players make failed rolls, they make dumb decisions, the environment just gets worse. Hey, they're not running out of the forest fire. Well, they're going to get surrounded. They are not leaving the muddy hill. The downpour is just getting worse. The sandstorm's overcoming you guys, and you guys haven't taken cover. The river's flooding, and the dam broke, and you guys didn't bother, trying to go for higher ground. Now the escalation happens. So now it's not difficulty 5. Next round is difficulty 10. Next round is difficulty 15. You can even do it by increments of 1, 2, and 3. It's difficulty 5, now 6, now 7, now 8. But if you really want to add that pressure, look, you've got to get the high ground. This valley, this dry valley is going to flood soon. You hear the water is rushing down, and it sounds like a herd of buffalo or something like that. Valley starts to fill with water. You go 5, next round 10, next round difficulty 15, or you're gonna have to make a roll, strength check. Make a strength check to see if you can hold on, or you're going to have to make drowning rolls. Let's open up the book to drowning rules or something. Something like that. You're going to get washed down the river, and if you smack into a rock or a tree branch, you're in trouble. Well, I try to hold on to my friend's hand. Okay, he's got advantage now. Make that strength check. Okay, roll 1, d20. I rolled a 4. Roll again. I rolled a 17. Sweet. Okay, he holds onto your hand and holds you from, rolling downhill. That's, guys... You guys are holding on to each other. That's going to take off one of your bonus actions or your movement action or something, right? So it adds more difficulty without it being an enemy unto itself, and it makes it more exciting when you have this outside element and they're fighting goblinoids. So the wizard's holding on to the dwarf's hand so he doesn't get pulled down the river. The dwarf is like, I can't swim. And behind them are 3 orcs, 2 of them with their nasty dog cleaver swords, and another one's got a bow, and the dwarf is just like, oh, what the hell, And the wizard's like, okay, I can't cast a spell and hold on to him. The dwarf is like, please don't let me go. What do I do? Makes for some dramatic tension. Also, what you can escalate are the effects. So instead of drowning, stun, blindness, fatigue, exhaustion, falling prone, deafness, you start adding in damage effects. Okay, you're going to take damage if you do this. If you randomly fall off of you go into have a fight in the elven tree kingdom, and there's all these different platforms and catwalks around, and one of the player characters gets tackled off of the edge. Up, roll that d4, you fall 1, 2, 3, 30 feet down. Bam! Here's some 3d6s. There's the damage. Or you get tackled towards the ledge. Better make a strength check, and now it is strength check 10. You better hope you don't miss it. Oh, I make it. And I roll for the orc, he misses it. He falls off the edge while you're hanging by your fingertips. He falls, roll d4, roll a 3, falls 30 feet down to his death. Those kind of things. Add those elements to the game. I love the environment. Using simple rules, a difficulty and escalate it. Effects that are not beginning to be damaged, but eventually become damage, and escalate that, and then escalate the tension. So they know that there's going to be a flood. They know there's a torrential rainstorm or a sandstorm. They know that the population is rioting or running in fear from the dragon, and that if they fall down in the city streets, they could get trampled. Or that the great warrior who's trying to hold his ground in the city square, the flood of thousands of people running in fear from the dragon, knocks him down and knocks the sword out of his hand, and now he's sitting here like, well, okay, people, damn it, I'm trying to fight a dragon here, you're not helping any. And so those elements are awesome. You have fights on rooftops and chases and all those kind of things. So anyway, this is DBJ for one of my narrative secrets, and that is utilizing the environment. I love utilizing the environment and describing the environment, foreshadowing the environment. Hey, it's been dry for weeks, and they're just hoping for a rainstorm. You notice that the Bedouin nomads are heading in the opposite direction you are, and they tell you there's a bad omen. I feel there's a storm coming. Yeah, let them know what's going to happen. Give them a little hint. Let your players, give an opportunity to, change their mind or go forward into danger. And then when they do, boom, bring the Smackdown, take a very boring, very simple encounter against some goblinoids or an ogre or some lizard men or something, and take that swamp and make, have people fall into the water and have a lizard man try to drown the dwarf, not just stab him. Have a player character climb up in a tree and have a fight with lizard men up in a tree and knock one of them down into the water. Have someone, grab a vine and swing from the vine onto somebody else's back and things like that. Utilize that environment, add that flavor in, and make your games more exciting. Create a dynamic environment. Don't destroy it and make it a gray flat plain with a white sky and 68 degrees with no breeze.